Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rave Social Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden, and today we have Maddy on the podcast. She is the owner of Vibes and Voices. She's a social media manager, and she's just incredible. I know she has a lot of good stuff to say, so I'm really excited to chat with her today. Maddy, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and kind of what your expertise is in?
Yes. Hi. First of all, hi, everyone. Thanks, Jaden, so much for having me on. I'm so excited to chat and just vibe out for a little bit. So as Jaden said, I'm the owner of Vibes and Voices Social Media Management. So I'm a social media manager, coach, strategist, kind of all that good stuff that falls under that social umbrella. But where I find my expertise lies and kind of where this passion came about or my business came about is really the creative and visual aspect of just putting, a beautiful brand together and making really great content that not only is valuable, but also resonates visually with your brand. I'm just really into all that kind of stuff. And it's been really cool to work with so many different kinds of businesses, beauty businesses, clothing businesses, estheticians, health coaches, just the spectrum is so broad, which I actually love getting to just, work in different industries, try different things out. And I don't know, I think you'd be surprised that you can really mesh the whole visual aspect and the value aspect with every single industry that you're working within. It can be pretty and it can be valuable. That's my biggest thing that I love to preach. And that is just evident in all of my clients and my profile as well. It's just my favorite thing. So that's a little bit about me, but yeah.
No, your profile really is a beautiful reflection of that. It's very aesthetic, but it also is extremely valuable. I find a lot of good stuff in your content. And I bet you're just doing that with your clients too, which is amazing. We need more of that because I do think people there's two kind of ends of the spectrum where there's accounts you go to and you're okay, your feed is gorgeous, but why would I buy from you? Or I don't even know what you sell, what is happening. And then there's the other end of that where people have maybe it's kind of ugly content. Sorry if you have ugly content, but maybe it's kind of ugly and it is valuable, but it's it's not catching anyone's eye because the aesthetics aren't there. So you definitely have to have that balance and you're just killing it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. No, I completely agree. It's a very two-sided debate. You're right. I've even seen people just make posts about it. They're F visuals or F value. This is why you should be caring about the other one. I'm why can't we care about both? We gotta have both to have the best presence possible.
I agree with you because if you don't have both, you're only going to have basically half of a presence. I was just saying, if it's ugly content, nobody's going to see it because it's not visually appealing. So you're just missing out on half the pie. Your business is just going to be way better if you have both. So I love that. And you you have your own podcast as well. And I know you are really experienced in social media mindset. I know that's something that you kind of talk about and you care about. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Maybe what are the major mistakes you see people make when they go into social media?
Yeah. I mean, even going off just where that question stems from, I feel when I first started full-time working in this industry and spending all my days on social media, it's not all of our job, but it is a big part of our job to stay online and keep up and understand what's trending, what's happening. And that's really cool. And it's a really fun part of our job, but social media also can be very toxic. And this is part of the reason why I love your mission and your message behind your content, because I think one message that you put out really well is yes, social media can be miserable if you make it miserable for yourself, but it can also be fun and lighthearted and exciting if you make it that way. So I kind of just started experimenting and talking about it, talking about mindset, talking about how we can kind of have a healthy relationship with ourselves and with social media, working in such kind of an intense industry. Obviously, it's not neurosurgery. It's not rocket science. It's not a life and death job. But first of all, that doesn't mean it's not important. And second of all, that doesn't mean that it's easy on the mind. It's definitely not. It's a whole world of comparison and just comparing ourselves to everybody else that we see online. And that can become a really toxic habit and culture. But I don't know. So I would say like the biggest mistakes I see people making, not taking days off. Been there, done that. I'm sure you've been there, the exact same thing. It's a very tragic thing. We need days off. We need it for our creative minds. We also we're not made to be on social media 24/7. We're human beings. No. That's not, excuse me. We're not made to be on social media 24/7. That's not how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to enjoy life. We're supposed to, do things that creatively inspire us. So I would say one of the biggest things that I see that almost like hurts my creator heart is people just working into the ground, working, not taking days off, not taking breaks, just kind of almost falling into that hustle culture. I think that goes hand in hand with kind of a toxic relationship with social media, especially in our line of work.
Yeah, I was just going to say like that hustle culture mindset is so damaging. Like I am a hustler in my heart. Like I love to work. I love to work hard. Like I will put in the hours. I'm down for it. But like you have to have boundaries. And on social media, I mean, if you just scroll, maybe it's just me, but if you just scroll through like your suggested reels, it will just be people that are like, you need to just show up every day or post 3 reels a day or like do these extreme moves to grow your business on social media. And I'm like, well, no wonder everyone feels bad when their reels don't get 1 million plays. Like, because that's not normal. And like, you shouldn't think that that's going to happen because it's not. Like, it's most likely not going to happen. And that doesn't mean anything bad, but it's like, it's so damaging. Just that mindset of being like, I don't know. I also hate the mindset of like, I see this on social media so much, but it's like, just show up more. And it's like, if you're not showing up like with the right value and if you're not showing up with a good message, like it doesn't matter and you're still going to burn out and you're still going to be sad. Like you need your mindset right first before you try to go into that.
Yes, just showing up is only half the battle. Like, get out there, get your face out there, make content. Some content's better than no content. I think especially in maybe the beginning stages of putting your business out there on socials. Yes, we want to have something over nothing, but just showing up and winging it is not it's not the right approach. It's just not, that's half, again, like what you said earlier, that's half the pie. You need to have all of these different elements, which is a message that I think we need to talk about a little bit more on social media is that like, yes, there's all these different opinions floating around and all these tips and tricks and gurus and experts and all of this noise happening. But we have to be like, okay, what actually works? Like, what actually generates results and how do we make this enjoyable for ourselves so that we're not ripping our hair out at the end of every single night, trying to figure out how to make this work for ourselves and how to not be hating this journey. We want to enjoy it while also doing what needs to be done. So I feel like I feel like social media, we could just be a little bit more honest about what genuinely works and not just filling up our feed with so much fluff and just posting to post. You want to have a message behind it. So I'm rambling, but.
Oh no, I'm with you 100%. I was just going to say like, I also think like the social media culture has gotten a little bit gross in a way where people will use anything as a hook, like anything as a hook. And if you're not reading the caption, if you're not really paying attention, if you're not using judgment when you're consuming content, you're just going to feel like a failure. Like you're just going to feel like you can't do it. And I think that's like the responsibility of like social media managers, but also anyone sharing content. It's like, is this true? Is this helpful? Like, can we peel back those layers and be like, yeah, the hook might be amazing, but like, what's my message? Is the message I'm giving really beneficial or is it hurting people?
Yes, that's so powerful. And that's also something that I'm like, we should all just ask ourselves. Like, no matter who we are, no matter if we're the most experienced social media manager out there, whether we're just,
Yeah.
another business owner or a creator, whoever we are, I think that we need to be asking ourselves, okay, yes, like you said, this might be a fire hook. It might grab the attention, but okay, is this misleading? Like, I feel like that's just such a simple question that we need to ask ourselves. Like, because I see amazing hooks, and even sometimes I'll catch myself creating content, and I'm like, oh, that's a great hook. I'll finish the post, I'll read through, and I'll be like, wait, low key kind of misled my audience there, and then you scrap it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay. You just have to be aware. You have to be aware of it, and you have to know, like, okay, if I come out with a powerful hook and it catches their audience, but it misleads them, this isn't going to do much for me. Like, this is going to make them not like me. This isn't going to make them trust me. So, I mean, it all goes hand in hand here at the end of the day.
Yeah. The trust is like a big one. I feel like it's just like, are we being honest? Because if we're not, like, then you're hurting your trust with your audience, but you're also just hurting like everyone that's on social media. I feel like, right?
You are. I mean, you really are.
So, okay. As far as like mindset goes, what are some things that you tell your clients? Like when you're bringing on a new client, because you're a social media manager, you're working with business owners, entrepreneurs, creators, whatever. What are some things that you tell them about hiring a social media manager or about how to show up with a healthy mindset?
Yeah. So I feel like one of the first things that comes to mind is a lot of times they've hired the social media manager now. Like we're working together, we're streamlining processes, things like that, but they're still feeling stressed and anxious and like, oh my gosh, I need to be getting the best content for you if I'm not the one physically like capturing their content. So I feel like there's a lot of things to stress about. So one of the first things that I like to come in with when we start working together is just like, listen, like, the purpose of this is so that you can take a backseat in the stress department. So you don't have to feel all of this all at once. Like, this is why I'm here. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you elevate your presence and elevate your business on socials. And you don't need to feel that consistent stress that you were feeling before. I think it's a difficult pattern to break, and it's a difficult pattern to shift into someone else's way of doing things sometimes. So I don't know. I feel like it's good to be really transparent, especially in that onboarding process, and things like that, to just be really transparent and talk to them and listen to them and hear, what their worries and their concerns are. Onboarding is that's not where the journey ends. That's where it begins. No. And just because you sign the client doesn't mean that you're going to have that client for months to come. Like, so I feel like setting that precedent first and foremost of like, okay, you don't have to take all of this on by yourself now. I think a little bit of angst is a good thing because you want it to be good and you want it to, you want to show up well. So I think it's not all negative. It's good to have ourselves on our toes. But I think just coming in hot and letting my clients know that like we're in this together, we're a package deal now, and I'm willing to work with them in a way that works best for them. I have some clients who are like on a plane 6 days a week, so they can't really do the typical check-in. So we're like, okay, do we send voice memos? What do we do? Like, how do we get on the same page and make it work for you? So I feel like just working really hand in hand and kind of figuring out their personality a little bit. Sounds kind of like psyche, but figuring out their personality a little bit and how to best work best with them and what might trigger them social media wise and how to work with people, I feel like is such a good skill to have when you come into this industry.
Yeah. And I mean, like with my clients, I love to know their triggers. And I feel like I've been kind of figuring that out. Like what triggers them? Is it like when you don't get enough plays or when you don't get comments or like, does it trigger you when somebody trolls them? Like I love to know what it is that like bothers them because like even when you hire a social media manager, you're not all of a sudden just hands off. I think that's a misconception that people have. It's like, no, we still really need you, especially if you're a personal brand. Like, don't go anywhere, babe. We need you. But if you have like I've worked with clients who are extremely anxious about social media, and bless their hearts, like I always try to help them work through it and be like, you know what? If this piece of content doesn't perform well, which we need to define what that means, but if it doesn't perform
Right.
well for you, like why does that upset you so much? Is it because you feel like your
Right.
business is failing? Is it because you're embarrassed because everyone can see the number? Like, what is it? How
Mm-hmm.
do we uncover like the root of the insecurity around social media and that anxiety?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like another one, this might be one you experience a lot, but I work a lot with creatives and they're perfectionists. They're artists themselves. So it's like they want
Mm-hmm.
their social media presence to be a reflection of their art, which can totally give
Mm-hmm.
you anxiety. But the beauty of hiring a social media manager that really gets your business, let's put that disclaimer in there, they have to get your business,
Yes.
is that they can see it from a better angle than you can. When you're
Yeah.
in the business, it's hard for you to see who your target audience is. It's hard for you to see who you're pulling in. But when you have
Yes.
that social media manager and you allow them to come in and look at it
Yes.
from a client perspective and create content from a client perspective, all of that starts to work out. It all starts to change, but you have to let go of like the perfectionism around it and the
Right.
fear.
Yes, and like the control a little bit. Like I think that can be really scary for people, and you've probably experienced this yourself, like to hand over your password and hand
Oh,
over,
yeah.
all that good stuff so that we can actually start doing what we do. I think it can be scary because they're like, okay, wait, no, actually this is real. I'm like kind of handing this over, passing the baton a little bit. Again, we still want you involved, guys. If you're listening, we want you
Don't go
involved.
anywhere.
Don't go anywhere. We don't want to chase after you. But no, yeah, I think that letting go can be a really difficult thing for business owners to do, for creatives to do. And you're allowing somebody into your business and allowing somebody to contribute in another way. I think that that's like a really empowering and exciting thing, but it also is scary for clients, which I think is just, if your social media manager understands that, then like you have a good one. You really do.
Exactly.
Like we understand that it's not easy to, you're not giving up something, but I sympathize with the fact that it might feel like you're giving up something or some kind of responsibility.
Yeah.
And this is why I always tend to say, like, just because you're investing in help, like that should empower you. That shouldn't make you feel like your business isn't yours. That shouldn't make you feel like you're less of a business owner just because you're not doing every single thing by yourself. It's all about that perspective shift, I think.
Yeah.
And that goes deeper than just the client relationship. That goes into content, that goes into everything. I think shifting perspectives from like, okay, this is what we've thought all along, to like, okay, wait, this is what's actually wrong. Like,
Yeah. And like, if you think you can do your whole business on your own, you're just crazy. Like, you can't do it. And I know,
no,
like, hiring a social media manager isn't the answer for everyone. You may need to let go of something
right.
else in your business. Like, maybe you need a VA, maybe you need an operations manager. I don't know. You need to know that for your own business. Okay. One thing that is very interesting about social media managers and business owners is that business owners, I've found, don't want to tell anyone that they have a social media manager. Like, it's
Yes.
on lockdown. Like,
Yes.
I had this conversation with one of my friends, Cass, the other day, and we were saying, like, it's just weird. You post about your hairstylist, you post about your nail person, you post about your whoever wrote your contract, you post about like all these other things that you might outsource in your life or in your business. You don't mind, you'll share about them. But business owners
Mm-hmm.
do not want to share about having a social media manager. And I respect it. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to, don't say anything. But at the same
Right.
time, it's like, I bet your business would do better if you told people, if you said, I have help. I don't do this all on my own. Everyone's going to be like, oh my God, I want to learn from this person. I agree with this
Right.
person. I like this person, because they know that they can't do it all.
Right. And in my opinion, if you have the means to hire help, that's a flex.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
there are so many people out there, and this isn't just for social media management. This is for all different service providers. Like, there are so many people out there that would love to purchase your service or be able to invest in your service, but not everybody can. I think that like having help and having the means to like have somebody come in, an expert come in and help you and to help take you to the next level in some area, that is such a thing to be proud of and to flex. And now I'm not going to be the social media manager who's like, you have to post me. Like, I feel like, I'm not going to take it super personally. I think that we've all kind of gotten over that. I think that you have that initial one where your client necessarily doesn't want to share you and you're like, oh, that hurts a little bit. And then you get over it. Like, it's really not personal, but it is an interesting thing to kind of think about. Like, I don't know. It's transparency. Like, that's just a big thing that I think is becoming increasingly important in the social space, among social media managers, among clients, being transparent that they're working with you. And again, like that's great for their audience. They see, oh my God, she is clearly killing it enough to have somebody help her and do this for her. That's a flex. Like, just remember, that is not something to be ashamed of. Like, you do not have to do it all by yourself. And I think you might have made a post about this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like, if your car's broken, you take it to the mechanic. Was that you?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. I honestly, here's the problem with my own self. Like, I will forget what I posted. Yes. I will forget. I'm like, did I talk about this yet? Like, I can't remember. And if I can't remember, that means my audience can't remember. And so that means like, we got to keep going, right?
I swear though, it might have been yours or it might have been somebody else's, but whoever it was an amazing analogy. It was like, when your car's broken, you take it to the mechanic. When your toilet's broken, unless you're like a plumber by night, you're going to call a plumber. So it's like, when there's an issue, you address the issue, you bring in the person necessary to help you fix it. And it's the 100%. Same thing with social media. It's just that social media, I think, is it's still very relatively new in our society. So it's not as normalized to call in help for it. It should be something that's easy and fun. But if you're using it strategically and you're using it, for growth, then what's the shame in bringing in an expert, just like you would bring in an expert to help you fix your car? Like,
exactly. No, I love that analogy. And it's so true. I think because social media isn't new, but social media for businesses and outsourcing social media help is new. Like, it is new. This is a new industry of social media managers. Like, hiring an agency just to run your socials, that's crazy and that's new. Yeah. And it's true. Like, but people do it. Like, you hire an accountant to do your accounting. You hire like a bookkeeper. You hire employees. You hire people to help you. So it's like, it's the same thing. I also think what makes people nervous about like hiring social media managers is like ROI. That conversation is always like very scary, because the truth is that like, you will never ever find a social media manager who can guarantee an ROI. And if they're saying that, they're delusional. That you can't do it. It's impossible. No. There's just too many things at play. And so people are nervous about it, but they're not nervous about hiring a marketing team for Facebook ads. They're not worried about email marketing is way more normal for people to hire people to do. They're not nervous about these things because they have a little bit more of a strong ROI, or at least like, we can get you within this range of an ROI.
Right.
But what they don't think about social media is that it plays into every single strategy. Like, your social media presence plays into your email marketing. It plays into your SEO. It plays into your website. It plays into your portfolio. It is, you can't run Facebook ads if you don't have a solid like social media presence. So it's like, it is kind of a foundation for your other marketing strategies. And sorry, that was like a tangent, but it's just true. No, it's part of it. So true. And it may not have that number, that dollar number that you're wanting for an ROI, but it will help your bottom line. Like, it's going to raise everything all at once. So like, I don't know, a rising tide lifts all ships. And you can think of your social media as the ocean.
Yes. And I mean, I love that. I just love this conversation on ROI and social media too. And again, this is just because like we said earlier, using it in this way is newer. And it's just, social media managers, like we weren't around 15 years ago. Like there was some other different title, some kind of thing. So I think, I don't know, it's just interesting to see what kind of return on investment you get when you work with a social media manager. Like obviously there is that monetary component, and no, we will never promise we're going to increase sales by X amount or X percent. The right social media manager will not promise that to you. I promise, because every single account is different. Like, yes, we have these strategies in our back pocket, but we're catering them to you. So we have to see how they're going to work with your audience. Like, I think that's also something, just on a side note, to be really transparent about, is that even with all the strategy, all the talent, all the visuals, all of everything, without a little bit of trial and error to see what your audience is meshing with and working with, you won't get as far. So I feel like sometimes that's frowned upon, because it's like, wait, trial and error, are you just winging it? It's like, no, there's strategic trial and error, you know? So
strategic trial and error. And it doesn't end, because there's eras of social media. Like in the last year, there's been like 6 different ways that content has performed. Like, nope, we need long videos. Nope, we need short videos. Now we need this. Now we need that. And it's like the fundamentals, your message, it's going to be the same. We're not trial and erroring your message or your product or your service. We're just doing trial and error on the way people consume the content. So that's what's important to remember, is it's like, yeah, we might test out like this longer form video. Your message is still the same. It might not perform well. We'll see, you know, that is going to continue to be how it is forever, as long as you're on social media, as long as you're dealing with platforms that have algorithms, because you need to see what catches people's eye. And it's going to change. It will change over time.
Absolutely will.
This brings me to another question. So this could be for yourself or your client, but what do you do when maybe your content isn't performing well? Like, we've all been through periods where either for us or our client, we're trying everything, seems like nothing's working. How do you keep the faith when that's happening?
I mean, I think that my approach for myself then versus my clients is a little bit different. I think I can be a little bit more lenient with myself. So when it's me and my content's not performing well, I'm like, okay, so it's something about like how I'm putting my message out there. Like we literally just talked about, like how I'm putting my message out there isn't quite resonating at the moment. And you'll probably say this too. I notice sometimes like my audience, like what they receive best changes like every few weeks. Like one piece of content that would have performed amazing 2 months ago won't perform amazing today. Like they're changing, your audience is changing, your niche, your industry, everything is changing. So for me, and on like Vibes and Voices, when it usually comes from a place of like lack of inspiration and creativity that's not flowing. So a lot of times what I'll tend to do is I'll put content on the back burner for a day or two. I'll give myself some time to not for a few days, you know, just feel like, you know what? Okay, content, this isn't my entire business. There's still this whole other side of my business that is still running, regardless of if I've posted today or not. So I feel like I give myself a little bit of a break, and then I turn to things that I know creatively inspire me. And I even just like to like sit down, have a notebook in front of me, and just not get up until I have like 10 ideas. Like I remember I saw like months and months and months ago, it might have even been a year ago, I saw Cass from Cass Class do a post about like, or a live or something, where someone asked her about like, how do you always have content ideas? And she's like, I have a note that's like a dissertation length. I don't even come up with them anymore because they're just in there, and I'm always writing them down, always jotting down ideas when I have inspiration. And that really inspired me. And I kind of started to do a similar thing when I heard her talk about that. So I'll just sit down, write down ideas, and then usually they'll kind of just continue to flow, which it's just kind of how my brain works. I love this kind of stuff. But yeah, I feel like that's
Yeah.
my approach for Vibes and Voices. But for clients, I think it's a little bit trickier because, you have that expectation of like, okay, these posts have to go out this week. This is the quantity and all of this. So it's more rigid, right? So I
Yes,
think
absolutely.
that one thing that I've especially recently really been diving into is just that market research in a way with their
Yeah.
audience, just getting onto stories, getting them face first onto stories, talking to them, and then posting polls and using the sticker elements. It sounds funny, but it's like, use them to your advantage. Use polls to ask them like, okay, where are you struggling most? But get specific with it. Don't just be like, how are you struggling on social media? Nobody will respond to you.
Nobody's going to
But if you
answer. I
say,
always like, I guide my clients. I'm like, if you do a question box that's open-ended, good
no one will
luck. I have accounts who have tons of followers that don't get responses when they put a question box. Do a poll. You have to guide people because they don't even know a lot of the time. Like they need you to present them with what are the problems, and then they can decide, oh, it sounds like I have this problem. It's just, if you're asking them to just come up with it, you might not get the best engagement.
Yeah, they're not going to answer. It feels like homework, y'all. It really does.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're asking them, what are you struggling with? They're going to be like, I don't know. Aren't you supposed to tell me that? So instead of asking them, like you said, that open-ended question where it could be a majority of answers that they have to cultivate and come up with and then type it out, no one's going to put in the effort to do that. So, and that's just how it is. So I find that if you just post more targeted questions and polls, like you said, or even voting and things like that, like if instead of what are you struggling with on social media and you leave an open question box, if you shift and instead you're like, of these social media struggles, which one are you finding yourself facing the hardest right now? Or which one's really really digging at you right now? And then you put 4 specific options like creating content or being consistent or having the motivation to even show up or feeling comfortable putting my face out there. If you can get a little bit more specific with it and then kind of put that there for them, it will resonate better with them. They will answer if that hits for them. And then if it doesn't, okay, I'm not asking the right questions. And that tells you something.
And you just try again.
Yes.
And it's okay.
This all tells you. Yes.
And like, you can take that information from those polls and create content on it. Like, or your social media manager. Yeah. Or like, if someone is doing it for you, obviously they could do that as well. That made me think of another place where I've been finding good information. I don't hang out on Facebook a ton, but I do use it for clients and stuff. So I'm on there. And I've recently been joining like some different groups, like women in marketing, because for me, that's my target audience, So if you're a fitness instructor, maybe you need to join like some fitness groups on Facebook or whatever, but go in there. The questions are there, baby. Like, so many questions every single day. People are asking questions. You could look at one post and read the comments and create like 6 pieces of content out of that because like people obviously have the question if they're asking it in there. And another thing too is like, I never encourage like looking at a competitor's page and like copying their content or anything like that. But you can sometimes find helpful nuggets in other people's content. This is something that I kind of preach. It's like, I never scroll for content ideas. However, while I'm scrolling, if I have an idea, I will write it down.
Yes.
So like if a competitor posts something that I disagree with, or maybe I agree with it, but I have a different opinion, or like a different take on it or something, like I will write down those content ideas too, because that's just as helpful and you're not stealing anyone's content.
No, you can't help where inspiration comes from. Like, I think there's such a fine line with this. Like, and I'm the same way. I will, if I'm like struggling to come up with content, I will physically like actually force myself to not scroll because I know that an idea I might unintentionally copy somebody else. And that's not what I'm trying to do. However, if I'm, like you said, if I'm scrolling on my feed and I see a post that I agree with or I don't agree with, and that sparks something deeper in my mind or something else, a different topic, I think that that's okay. I think that that's, a beautiful thing about all of us supporting each other and sharing our content on a shared space, is that we can help each other think deeper about certain topics. So yeah, I think there's a fine line between copying and then just consuming and naturally coming up with some kind of inspiration within your own mind. So yeah, I feel like for me, I might scroll and be like, oh, I actually disagree with that. Let me talk about how I disagree with that. Obviously, you're not they say subtweeting, sub-posting your Instagram people. But, so I don't know. Yeah. There's a fine line.
If you're creating really good content or you want to create really good content, like you're not going to copy someone else, because here's why. When you copy someone, you're never going to be as good as the original. That's just true. Like if it's not an original idea, if you're copying someone else, it's not an original idea. And then what's the point? You're now just showing your audience that you're unoriginal and not really that trustworthy. So it's like,
yes,
let's just not copy people. But okay. So with the mindset behind that, so you're saying basically, if you're struggling with your own content, what you'll do is take a break. You're like, I need to take a break. And obviously it's just that my message, however I'm delivering my message, it's not being received. So maybe I need to change how I'm talking or the style of content or whatever until you feel better about it. And for clients, kind of a similar thing. It sounds like you do a similar thing for clients.
Yeah, I would say.
How do you handle when a client or yourself, your content, I would say maybe not for yourself, just if you have a client and their content isn't performing how they think it should, what do you do when it comes to that?
Yeah. Okay. This is an amazing question because it's so different for everybody. I think that first and foremost, I like to sit down with them or just send a voice memo back and forth if that's what the situation is, and be like, okay, to you, what does success look like? What is success to you? What does that mean to you? What are you striving for? Because oftentimes, just that single question will unveil the real problem. Because they'll be like, oh, I want to go viral and I want to be a mega influencer like Alex or whatever. And you're like, okay, goals. We love the goal. We love that you have ambition, but let's be realistic. Okay. So I think that you can kind of check your clients and be like, okay, but why do you want that? Is that just because you want an ego boost? Is that just because you want sales? There's a valid reason for it. And then you can kind of tell them, okay, well, hey, you don't need to go viral to make your sales. So I think that understanding what success means to them and then evaluating in your mind with all of the expertise that you have, okay, their emotions are valid, right? Everyone, how we feel is completely valid, but sometimes we can have a little bit of misdirection as to what we actually need or what is actually wrong or what actually matters when it comes to certain things. So I think understanding their perspective, what success means to them, and then being like, okay, is this valid? And do I need to shift my approach? Or are they maybe struggling with a little discrepancy where I can kind of show them, okay, you actually don't need that. This is what you need instead. Or, hey, we can reach that same goal, but by doing this, you might not have 5 million followers, but you'll have 100,000 good, engaged, loyal followers, So I think gathering a new perspective on their end, giving them a little bit of a new perspective as to what success is and also how many different ways there are to reach the one goal that they have. Because there's
so many ways. Oh my gosh. One thing I literally had this post drafted up. We'll see if it goes out or not. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know. But I was saying if you have 100 followers and 5 of them want to pay you $100,000 for whatever your service is, maybe it's worth that much. That's $500,000. You don't need 20 clients. You only need 5. You don't need that many. And so I think
Right.
where people get caught up is like they think more followers translates to more money. We see people post about this all the time. Like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But the truth is like if that's what you're struggling with or that's your insecurity, it's like, do you want more followers because you want more sales? Okay, let's balance your content strategy. So let's do some more viral style content.
Yes.
Let's do some of that to help you get those views that you want and maybe bring in those new followers that you want. And at the same time, let's implement a sales strategy. Let's show up on your stories. Let's really refine your message and make it clear to your audience what your offer is. Like if you can do both, which is funny, like the other day I posted something and I was like, my flopped content got me the most money. Literally so true. Like I have had pieces of content that I posted and I'm like, this did not perform. Like, and I knew it wasn't going to. That's the thing. Behind it, I was like, okay.
Yep.
This post, it doesn't have the best hook. It doesn't have whatever, but it has the value that my clients were looking for in order to convert into a paying client. And so slay, like that's what we love, you know? It's like, yeah, it didn't get 1 million plays. It didn't need to because the goal was achieved.
Right. That's again, just like going into redefining like what success looks like and what success actually is and what's tangible or even like doable for you. Like we can do all the things and we can optimize, but like alongside a sales strategy and alongside an actual like marketing strategy, not just social media, because it's way bigger than that, you know, alongside that, then I think you can make a really impactful difference. But
oh my gosh. Okay. We will like kind of wrap up here soon, but I wanted to ask you, like, what's your biggest piece of mindset advice for anyone on social media? What is your, what's your biggest piece of advice?
I think I would have two things. I think I talked about this earlier. Take time away. Like, please take time away. You can be using it in the healthiest of ways and you can be limiting yourself and, you know, engaging in practices that you know are beneficial for you. But if you're on it too much, you will still get burnout. You will still get frustrated. That anxiety will still be there. So taking breaks, regardless of how you're using social media, you need to take breaks. Like I even say this to my clients, like especially if they're going on vacation, I'm like, log off. I got you. You need this break. Even though I'm doing it, you need the break for your mental health. Like you need it. So taking days off. And then I would say, making it fun again. Like, and I've seen so many people talk about this, especially recently, which I love, 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 love to see is, you know, experimenting more with the entertaining side of content and, you know, relating to your audience on more of a humorous level and just being a little bit more lighthearted and fun with it at the end of the day. Like, I think we can all agree as social media managers collectively across the board, the one kind of content that performs well for everybody is humor and lightheartedness and comedy. Whether you're a surgeon, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're an esthetician, the funny content is going to perform. So I like to say, like, if we know that that's working, why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we including more of that into our strategies? Why are we so hell-bent and focused on having the perfect presence and the perfect product photos and making ourselves look gorgeous, gorgeous out there? Which again, you know, I'm a visual girl. I love the visuals. But it has to be lighthearted at the same time.
I mean, you can have both.
Yes, you're getting win. You're getting both.
You can have both.
You're having fun and you're generating results for yourself. So I would just say, like, to anybody that's out there struggling with your social media right now, and especially to those who maybe you're stuck in TikTok view jail, maybe you're stuck in Instagram view jail, like wherever you are in your journey, if you're finding yourself frustrated and fed up, like, let's shift gears. Do it fun for a month. Like if that's what you need to just like not think about strategy maybe for a month and you just want to like post lighthearted and fun. Like if that's what's going to help you get your mojo back and your inspiration so then you can go into the next season of valuable content with a fresh mind, then like please do that. Like please do what you need to do for yourself and it works. Like at the end of the day, that content works.
It does. Like, I mean, funny content really will get good views. You're obviously not going to not obviously, I guess you could convert people with it, but you might not.
Right.
And that's okay.
Right.
Like, that's okay.
Right.
Why not every piece of content has to be like high converting or what?
Right.
It doesn't always have to be so serious. And I loved what you said about like, you know what, just switch it up. And I think that is so true. I think there's two kinds of people. One kind, they switch it up way too much. We have no idea what they're saying ever. And there's another kind, which I think is way more common. People afraid to switch it up. They're like, but this worked in 2016. And it's like, it doesn't work anymore. Do something else. Like, let yourself out of jail. Let yourself out of jail. Let yourself have freaking fun.
Yes. I always like to say too, like, 2016 on social media is like, it's like the 90s now. Like because social media has been around for a less long period of time, like 2016 is like a decade ago in social media terms.
For
like
real.
It's evolving so fast. I would say it's one of the most fast evolving industries that there are. So I'm like, to your point, like you have to stay current. You have to stay up with what's working, what's not working for people across the board. Like you just have to stay current and see what's working because things are changing every day. Something that's trending today will not be trending tomorrow. Like,
nope. And that's okay. It doesn't need to like freak you out. It's like, it's way more fun when you think about it as like an abundant portal of ideas and creativity. Like the options are endless. You can always get better. You can always try new content. Like it's fun. It doesn't have to be scary. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being with me. I want to ask you one more question before we hop off. And it's this. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
I think that it would genuinely be to, and this is so cliche, so I'm so sorry guys, but like in life and in my job would just be to like not take things so seriously and become a little bit detached from the outcome of whatever it is that you're worrying about. I think back to when I started my business. I think back to when I was like 15 years old and worrying about whatever test I was studying for. Like in all different stages in your life, I think that you can find a little snippet where you can relate this to in your life. Just become a little bit more detached from what ends up happening because so much anxiety is created around like, okay, well, I'm doing this to like get there and this has this purpose and this is my why. But then you have so much angst around that end, whatever it is, that end scenario that's going to happen. Like, oh, is it going to end badly for me? Is it going to end good for me? Like, I don't know. So much anxiety around that statement in and of itself. So I feel like if we could just focus on bettering ourselves and learning and growing as people and as business owners, as social media managers, and become a little bit more detached from whatever the outcome's going to be, because we don't know what it's going to be. We never will. We're not mind readers. I know there's some people out there who are. That's not me. That's not me. But I appreciate it. And I think that if we just detach ourselves and we're like, you know what? I'm doing what I have to do now. I'm growing. I'm bettering myself. Whatever happens, happens. It's okay if it doesn't work out. It's even better if it does.
And like what if it works out way better than you could have imagined? Like let's err on the side of like things are going to be better than I imagined instead of
that mindset.
Worse.
Like that's the mindset component too, where. And I think I'll try to not be too long with this because I know we're wrapping up. But I think that in the social media world, a lot of times you can kind of see people like crap on the message of like your mindset's important or like manifestation and energy and things like that. I think people really shit on that, especially in our space, which sometimes disappoints me a little bit because I think that there is a strategic component and I think that there's a mindset component.
Yeah. You're delusional if you think that people can't feel your energy on the other side of that Instagram post. We can. And people are subconscious beings. Like if if you are hating it and your energy behind it is negative, they know they're not going to engage. It's just the way the universe works. Sorry, everybody.
Right. It's like, I think that there's like a misconception where it's like, people are like, well, you can't manifest a sale. And I'm like, well, I mean, personally, I would disagree, but that doesn't matter. I'm like, I think you can, but take this then. Okay. If you're thinking, I'm never going to make a sale, like this is stupid, like whatever, no matter what kind of content you're putting out there, you won't make the sale.
Exactly. You're guaranteed to not make the sale.
Yes,
if that's what you think.
Because you don't think you can. Like at the end of the day, that's what it is. Like mindset is a huge factor into this. And that's another thing I would tell my younger self. Like young Maddy, get more into energy, get more into like just vibrations and things like that. Like, I think that is one of the most powerful things for me, and something that I feel really connected to in my business is like the energy that I show up with. And I wish that younger me would have known that, to be like, you know what, show up purely with pure intent, with pure energy. Don't fake it. Like, be you, you know? I think that that's just such a powerful message.
So it is. Oh, I love that so much. You had such a good response. It's been so fun talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on here. And everybody, follow Vibes and Voices on Instagram. She's an angel. Obviously, you know that by now, but make sure that you follow her. And I'm sure we'll have her back again soon.
It would be an honor. Thank you so much. This was so fun to chill with you all, and you, Jaden. I love it. So fun.